What is going on, guys? It is BB. This is the I-71 Playbook podcast, coming to you from the beginning of the sacrificial bloodletting. Um, First of all, let's get into it with my co-host here, Mr. BC. How are you, sir?
Hey, BB. A little different here. We're coming to Sunday afternoon since the Browns season is mercifully ended. So it's good to be here earlier and not going to all hours of the night. We've had almost 24 hours to digest. As what I really think was the most disappointing season in Browns history for me. I was
You
really
are not the only one who has that. It's kind of funny that you bring up that phrase of. We'll get into that a little bit here, but
yeah. We'll talk Browns a little later.
let's talk about some good news. Let's talk about our Ohio State Buckeyes, who gave me one hell of a birthday present. Thank you, gentlemen. That's right. Uh, 2 games away. We got 2 more games left. Um, but my first question though is, who is this team? And then I have a follow-up question. Where the hell have they been all season? Like
So
this is crazy what we're seeing.
so I obviously that's the frustration of the season, right? This is what we expected when we saw this team come into August. This is the exact team we thought we would see the whole year,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, and sometimes it's just sports. You have, I mean, you have transfers coming in. You have the portal's open. You have a couple of freshmen who are regularly contributing to the team come in. Sometimes it just doesn't click right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be that controversial guy. If Ohio State goes on and wins this whole thing, which they are the odds-on favorite to do right now, the way they're playing, I don't think it happens without that loss to Michigan. And we could talk about that further later, but something snapped with this team when they took that criticism, and rightfully so. They deserve to be criticized from coaching staff down to the players. The whole
Mm-hmm.
program should have been criticized for that effort against Michigan. You don't go in that game up 20 plus point favorites and lay that egg that you did. But I think looking back, me as a student of history, I think we're going to look back if Ohio State can pull this off. Has that being the turning point, and that's really weird that the game was the turning point because it's so late in the season. But you know, they're a juggernaut right now. I know Sark said at his press conference that that Texas was huge underdogs. Now he's trying to obviously get his team fired up, but Ohio State's playing at another level right now, and they look like the best team in college football. They're dominant right now, defensively, offensively. They are going to be a tough out these next 2 games.
And and I can definitely get on the same page with you with that. I mean, it's not going to click right away, and I can absolutely support that. Um, but the team that we're seeing, the postseason Buckeyes versus the in-season Buckeyes, it's night and day. I mean, we would see, oh, well, now it's a second half team and it's a slow start, or we struggle, or this, that, and the other. And then, we came out against Tennessee firing on all cylinders, and my phrase of the postseason has been all gas, no brakes. And that's what it's been. There's no kind of playing around, playing cat and mouse with these quarterbacks, not switching up the defense. It's literally just, it's all go, no quit, 60 minutes of football. And one of the most integral pieces, I think, on our offense, and hopefully for several years to come, is your favorite and mine, Mr. Jeremiah Smith.
He's only 19. He's
He's
19 years
only
old.
19.
Oh my
How
god!
many times how many times did you and I text that back and forth to each other
And just
during
a month
camp?
ago, our texts were, he's only 18.
Right.
Oh, this kid's amazing. And talking about the starts here, I was reminded of something. So once again, you guys can do the guesswork of how old I am, but go back in the Wayback Machine. Uh, my dad, my dad was a big boxing guy. One of his heroes was Muhammad Ali, and one of the things growing up in a house that we didn't have a ton. We never went without. My dad made sure we got the boxing pay-per-views for big fights, and invite all my friends
Okay.
over. We'd have pizza, and it was always a good time. Great memories. There was one guy that we never missed a fight for. And one of the reasons, even though you knew the fight was going to be over quick, you knew this dude was going to come out and he was going to throw haymaker after haymaker. And you got done with the fight and you just felt absolutely terrible for his opponent because they had no idea what hit him. Okay, if you haven't guessed, those fights were Mike Tyson's. Growing up, if you have not,
On the planet.
yeah, if you're watching this pod and you're a little younger on the younger side and you have not went back and watched Mike Tyson's fights in his prime, before all the legal trouble and everything, but in his prime when he was in his early 20s, there was nothing like it, and you did not care that the show was over in the first round because you wanted to see this guy just demolish people. And that's what the greats do. I think about the 90s and the early 2000s with Tiger Woods. You watched Tiger knowing he was going to win, knowing that his opponents were going to fold on Sunday, and knowing that he was going to demolish them. That's the feel I get with this Ohio State team right now. Tennessee, I thought about that. I'm like, man, Tennessee, should they be there, whatever, we can have that argument. It's an SEC team with 2 losses. It's a good team. No matter what we think about I just saw an article the other day. Is the SEC down? Is the rest? Clearly, the Big Ten's the best conference this year, and that's okay. It was the best conference last year. I think the Big Ten and the SEC have been a lot closer than anybody gives them credit for in the last 10, 15 years. But regardless, this Ohio State team, what they did to Oregon. 3 offensive plays, 7-0. Oregon goes 3 and out. I don't think I watched a lot of Oregon football this year, and I'm sure they did have 3 and out, but I never saw one. And they go 3 and out. Ohio State gets the ball back.
Not consecutively,
No.
like not back to back to back.
14-0. Oregon gets the ball back, 3 and out again. And it's 17-0 before Oregon gets a first down. As we were leaving the end of the first quarter. And I was just sitting there just dumbfounded. And I thought about, just the greats and when they're at the top of their game, how they just can't be beat. And the opponent knows they can't be beat. And I thought Tyson, I thought Tiger Woods. And it was incredible. It was an incredible show to watch last week. And, Texas has a home game. I know we're going to talk about that. Texas has a home game, but somehow Ohio State almost a touchdown favorite going into Arlington, Texas to play the Longhorns. I don't know if Matthew McConaughey can help them.
All right. So let's talk about Oregon a little bit. And this is going to be a controversial take for me. I've talked at length about Indiana this season and their strength of schedule, or lack thereof. The argument kind of can be made also. Oregon kind of fell into that as well.
I might push back on this a little. We'll talk here. I might push back on this a little.
Okay. I love when we argue. It's great. Oregon did not play a ranked team until October 12th when they played us. They didn't play a ranked team again until they played Illinois. And at the time, Illinois was ranked 20th. And then they played Penn State in the championship game. So you've played 3 ranked opponents this season. Now, I'm not saying that they're on the same level as Indiana, where they're walking around with a little bit of false
Yeah,
bravado,
yeah, no.
and we're 11-0 and blah 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 blah. No, Oregon absolutely went out there and dominated those games that they were in, with the exception of it was a dogfight with Ohio State.
Well, there was one other
Um,
game that was close, and this is kind of where I want to push back, and now I'll quit cutting you off here. Uh,
I love that.
they had an early tough game, so they didn't come out. They didn't come out the gates firing this year, once again, the reason I paid a lot of attention to Oregon, not only their first year in the Big Ten, but a good buddy of mine is a big Oregon fan, so we've had this back and forth all season, knowing that ultimately Ohio
Ah,
State and Oregon were going to end up back here. We kind of had
mhm.
that feeling. No matter the ebbs and flows this season, we kind of figured these two would face each other, and he was a little worried early on because if you remember, even though they were not ranked at the time, Heisman finalist led Boise State went into Oregon and only lost by
Mhm.
3, and
Right.
had them on the ropes. So when we once again, into hindsight, and this is why me with strength of schedule arguments, I have a lot of pushback on them because Boise State ended up being one of the top 12 teams in the nation. Um,
Right.
they played Ohio State. They beat Penn State. Penn State's in the national semis. They beat Penn State in the Big Ten final. So like
Absolutely.
I do agree that a majority of their schedule, but I will also say the same for Ohio State. Majority of Ohio State's schedule, and by the way, it might not have been a ranked team, but Oregon went into Michigan and won. Michigan came to Columbus and we know what happened. So
We do.
like I said, I'll give you a little pushback on that, but I get your point.
So, and you're not wrong. No, you're absolutely not wrong. But also something to look at, and I've kind of made this comment in my living room all over over the season as well. The defending national champions had one of the toughest schedules out of anybody. So if you want to talk to anybody about a strength of schedule, um, look at Michigan. Now, mind you, they're also absolutely decimated. They had 55 seniors graduate last year.
And they were all like
They're,
seventh year seniors too, so that's fair.
I mean, yeah, COVID gave everybody a couple extra years. But that's a whole nother argument. But
I'm so
so
glad
they
we're
had
getting it. We're
55
finally getting
seniors
out of that.
last year. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're finally getting out of the COVID football portal.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, 55 seniors. And then this year they've got 44 more that are graduating. Plus you've got transfer portals, opt-outs for the bowl game that they were in. But I mean, they had one of the toughest schedules.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You had a team in Texas at the beginning of the season that was firing literally on all cylinders. Like they were scary at the beginning of the season. And that was their third game. That was week 3. Like, hey, congratulations on a championship, boys. Here's them. So that's, but yeah, they ended up not being ranked.
I think we all agree, especially after what they just did against Alabama here in bowl season. I would say Michigan is at least, they're a top 10 team right now at this point. At
Yeah.
this point, they had 5 losses early on, like Ohio State though. It took them a while to get rolling, and they got rolling. And I don't think anybody would want to play them in the playoffs. To be honest with you, I mean they embarrassed Ohio State and then go embarrass Alabama. Like that's some back-to-back victories for Shamar Moore. That you know they
I mean,
he,
let's be
he
really
can he can
honest,
use for
though.
recruiting for sure.
Let's be really honest, though. Mother Nature really, really helped Michigan
Yeah.
for the ReliQuest Bowl. Let's just call it how it is.
Did Jalen Milrow remind you of Bambi? I don't know how many times I saw that poor kid he tried to plant, he tried to take off running, and the legs just were moving, and he wasn't going anywhere.
No, no. Looked like Bambi, played like Bambi's mom.
Oh, God.
I went there.
Yeah, BB. Just
Oops.
oh.
Don't blame Walt Disney. No. Don't blame me.
I mean, you know,
Blame Walt Disney.
not that that scene was a torment to many Gen Xers and and
Elder
boomers'
millennial. Oh God,
lives.
yeah. Oh yeah. Why are all of us in therapy now?
By the way, completely
Randy,
unrelated.
Land Before Time.
Yeah. Oh, completely unrelated. I was just about to say, if you go back and visit, whether it's Disney, whether it's children's films, my wife and I were talking about the scene in the Never-Ending Story, and I think you know what scene that is.
It is too soon. Do not say the name. No.
Okay, I promise I won't. But you know that scene,
I
like
have
how did
eyeliner on today, BC. I will not cry.
how did we survive? Not to mention,
That's why we are all in therapy.
yeah,
right
not to
now.
mention we didn't have bike helmets. Not to mention that our parents smoked in the car with us. Not to mention we didn't wear seatbelts and there weren't car seats. Like
We drank out of the hose. Like it was a wasteland.
just the worst of it is the pop culture. And by the way, if you want a treat, and I'm going to tell everybody out here, especially if we have some younger viewers, which I know we do, please go on your Spotify, go on your Apple Music, whatever you listen to, and just stream early to mid '90s hip hop. And know that most of that made the radio. Just do yourself a favor and just stream R&B or '90s hip hop, and it is eye opening because there would have been, we talk about cancel culture, like there would have been nothing on the radio in the '90s if there was cancel culture. But anyway, we're off the topic. Let's get back to Ohio State.
One thing before we get back into pod, there is a rule currently in my house that if I have 90s or 2000s hip hop or rock on, and I'm either baking or I'm clean, just leave me alone. I'm working through some stuff. just leave that woman alone. Just saying.
Oh my god, I can't. I wish I had Sirius on and I had the '90s on a couple weeks ago, and I wish I would have. I'm getting old, so I forget the song, and I would just sit there listening to the lyrics, and I'm like, I was singing this song when I was 13 years old in middle school. Where were my parents? And then I was like,
oh my god.
Then I was like, I can remember listening to Straight Outta Compton up in my bedroom with my buddy and my dad walking in on it.
So again, I grew up in the suburbs of the west side of Cleveland, the severe west side,
West side.
all the way to the suburbs. Middle school dances. Now this is school sponsored dances. Gangsta's Paradise, Regulators, and we thought we were the coolest thing ever. And granted, there were two black classmates. The rest of us were white and had absolutely no business singing any of that, especially at our age, especially in the middle school gym.
Yeah, it's
With that being said,
we grew up in a different world. We absolutely grew up in a different world.
We did. So with this year being the first year of the 12 team, the playoffs, we've already got a bit of a curse going on here. We've got the curse of the first round bye. All four teams that got a bye for that first round either got blown out, or the only one that put up a fight was Arizona State, and they took Texas to 2 overtimes.
By the way, wouldn't Scadaboo look great in a Browns jersey next year? Would that kid just look amazing? If that doesn't scream Peyton Hillis 10 years ago, nothing does. Like,
just don't. No.
Just don't put him on Madden. No. We'll be fine. Don't put him on the Madden. Don't put him on the cover of Madden. We'll be fine. Yeah. So I want to add a layer to what you just said, because what you brought up is a great point, and it has to be addressed, and I think it'll be addressed as soon as the national championship. Like, they're already fixing solutions, because not only that, but every home team won their first 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. So when you take it there, the benefit happened to be to the home team in the first round, not the bye. So you know, my personal thought, I'm a big fan in playoffs when we do re rankings. So you rank every days. So first round, quarter, semi, you re rank the teams and get the most fair matchups. I'm not gonna say the best matchups, but Oregon, and we talked about this last week. And we didn't, obviously we couldn't procrastinate. We didn't know what was going to be the outcome. We had no idea. Ohio State. We both sat here, thought it was going to be a close game. Uh, but what a terrible draw Oregon got, and that was a reward for being the only undefeated D1 team in the nation.
Go ahead,
Oh,
because
push back.
I'm going to push back on you.
No, I mean just they for their efforts. They have to. I mean, they get a West Coast game, but they have to travel to California, and the West Coast is huge. And that from Eugene to Pasadena is a hike. That's not like you just get in the car and an hour and a half you're there. I mean, that is a flight. That's not a drive.
Right.
Then you get what Ohio State has become, and I think of any team coming out of that first round, if Oregon had to choose, the last team they would have chosen was Ohio State. And if you had a re-ranking system, Ohio State's not playing Oregon. They're not, like, after that Tennessee game, Ohio State's playing whoever the four seed is. I think that was Arizona State. So, it just, I think Oregon got a bad deal out of this. I still think Oregon's a great football team. I just think Ohio State's playing at a different level than anybody else right now. But anyway, push back, please, BB. Let me have it.
So I've heard this argument so much that, Oregon had like the hardest path to the national championship, and they're being punished and this, that, the other, and they have to go up against this behemoth that Ohio State has become, that they helped to create, by the way.
By the way, I did not use the term punish. I'm just saying they got a bad draw.
No. You did not say punish. Okay. I have heard throughout the internet's.
I just want to clarify for the listening audience. By the way, like and subscribe to the I-71 Playbook podcast. We would greatly appreciate. Even if you don't like what you're hearing, just subscribe, and it helps us out. So we greatly appreciate you guys watching. We are getting some viewers, regular viewers, which is cool. So thank you guys. But anyway, push back, BB.
Oh, I'm gonna go back into both of our childhoods and use a phrase that a iconic professional wrestler built a career on. Okay, and you know where I'm going with this. I can already see it on your face.
Ooh, I know where this is going.
Absolutely, drunk Uncle Ricky himself, who has said, "If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man." So here's my thing, is if Oregon now is the number one team in the country and they are seeded number one in the college playoffs, so do you not want to go up against one of the best teams? And again, we said it earlier at the pod, this team evolved into absolute monsters. I chose the right sweatshirt today.
Got it.
But they became absolute problems on both sides of the ball. We saw it with Tennessee. We saw it going into Pasadena. So if you're Oregon and you want to stand tall on, we're going for the national championship, we are the number one team in the country, do you want to not go up against one of the better teams to face against? Or do you want a softer path that had maybe SMU or had Clemson?
So in
teams that kind of like squeaked in.
In theory, you're 100% right. In theory. But I am telling you right now, Penn State's pretty happy where they are.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame's pretty happy where they are. Notre Dame is completely cool that Carson Beck couldn't play in that game against Georgia. Those teams are okay with it, and if they go on to win the Natty, in no way is there any regrets. And I think going into this round, By the way, I'm also a guy who would love to see the best two teams play at the end.
Hmm.
I think most of the time the 14 playoff and the BCS has gotten that right. By
Hmm.
the time you got to the final two teams, it was the best two teams. I don't think we're going to have that this year because I think Oregon was the number two team. And once again, we're making the assumption Ohio State's going to go on, and we don't know if Ohio State's going to move on or not. I mean, they could come out there and lay a stinker. We've seen them do it. But I think Oregon, for their trouble, for their ability to be once again the only undefeated D1 coming from, and we've already clarified today, the best conference in the country. The Big Ten was the best
Absolutely.
conference this year. Them coming out of that undefeated, regardless of strength, they should have not been rewarded with Ohio State. And I think even as the playoffs got, even before the Tennessee game, we were looking at that possible matchup going, man, that's a bad draw for Oregon. Because if Ohio State beats Tennessee and then Ohio, they get Oregon, that's a tough draw because we all agreed talent wise, Ohio State's the most talented team in the nation. They have the
Right.
best roster. It's not even close. Georgia proved like people wanted to put Georgia in there. Georgia did not have the best. They were not as talented as Ohio State. Um, despite their backup quarterback play, and that's rough. And Notre Dame's got a fantastic defense. But that all being said, I I get if I was an Oregon fan, I would understand that I would be upset about that too. Like if the shoe
I
was on
mean,
their foot, I would like totally. Why couldn't we have gotten Boise State? Or I guess not Boise State. They wouldn't have got Boise State. Why couldn't we have gotten Penn State again? Or why couldn't we have gotten Notre Dame? I think, or why couldn't we have got Texas? Like I think that's a fair critique to have of the system. And I once again, I think going full circle here, the system will be fixed, or it will be. I don't know if it will be
absolutely.
fixed. It will be better. And
Absolutely.
by the way, I just glanced over. Buffalo's now beating New England. I want that first pick. Anyway, sorry. So where we're recording right now, the afternoon games are on, and right now, currently, I looked over here, and we had a field goal in the Buffalo. Oh, New England just took the lead, 17-16. So we're back to the number
Wait,
two pick. Awesome.
17-16. Whoo,
It's
barn
like
burner over
it's like the
there.
good old days being a Browns fan,
Wow.
rooting for teams to upset other teams so we get a better draft day experience. Anyway, back to Ohio State.
Um, so
Squirrel.
now I know we did this a little bit before. Shiny. Squirrel. Come back to me, BC. Come back. Come back. Little Know Thy Enemy, the Texas edition. It's gonna be the return of Quinn Ewers. Famously, committed to Ohio State and then kind of the first year that the NILs were announced, ended up going back to Texas. He had a respectable game for the Peach Bowl. It was about 20 for 30, threw for 322 yards, one interception, and 3 touchdowns.
By the way, side note,
So,
Ohio State fans, if you want to complain about last year with Kyle McCord being your starting quarterback and this year having to go to the portal and get Will Howard, you could blame Quinn Ewers. Or if Quinn Ewers would have stayed, had the foresight to stay, he would have been the starting quarterback the last 2 years at Ohio State, without a doubt, because
okay.
he's a lot better than Quinn Ewers, and there would have been no need to go to the portal to get Will Howard. So, like in an alternative universe, we are looking at an Ohio State team led by a very, very good quarterback in Quinn Ewers. But anyway, I digress. He's
But
the
kind of
enemy
taking a
now.
look at their, huh?
He's the enemy now. So
That's right.
yeah.
No love. That's just all anger.
Speaking of Quinn Ewers, hypothetically, I want everybody to say this. Hypothetically, Texas upsets Ohio State, wins the national. Anything could happen. Do you know what
It
Quinn
could.
Ewers' reward's going to be for this?
Don't even no.
He is okay. So right now, the draft analysts are saying, "Dude, you're a third and fourth round pick. Go back to school." he can't go back to Texas. So he could win Texas a national championship and have to grad transfer because of Arch Manning. Is that not insane? This dude who's played, I mean, people nitpick because you get to this part of the season, we nitpick everything. But
Oh yeah.
the kid has played really well this year. You know, I've caught a couple Texas games, and he's played hurt. That's another thing. He's played with a messed up rib all season long. Since I think the Michigan game, he got hurt, and he was tearing Michigan up in that game.
Yeah.
When they were in full Texas machine, Quinn Ewers was healthy. But this kid's reward for winning a natty is like, thanks, you'll be in the trophy case. Have a good life, kid. That is going to be the reaction in Austin because they're ready. It's Arch Manning time. They're ready for him.
They are.
And no matter
They
what,
are ready for Arch.
and by the way, no matter what happens Friday night, if Ohio State wins that game, the Texas what ifs are going to be, well, if we played Arch, we would have had a shot. It's going to be all over. Quinn Ewers cannot win. I feel so bad for this kid. He cannot win in this situation. No matter what happens, it's a bad situation. But anyway, back to the tail of the tape.
So, I mean, let's just kind of take a peek at their season real quick in a nutshell. They lost to Georgia twice. They escaped from being beat by Vanderbilt with a last-minute Hail Mary field goal. Like, Jesus take the wheel. Hopefully it all goes through the upright. I mean, that's something straight up out of a movie. You know,
Right.
Clock ticks off, balls in the air, slow motion, ref's arms go up,
Same
and scene.
same Vanderbilt team that burnt down Nashville after they beat Alabama this year.
Exactly. Their own stadium. But we are also getting close to the end times, and let me explain why. I am noticing a lot more that I am agreeing with ESPN's loud mouthpiece that is Stephen A. Smith. I'm terrified. Like, I need an adultier adult in the room because he's been saying some things lately, and I'm like, you know what? He's not wrong.
I'm not, by the way, this is not shock at your revelation. This is shock that I'm in agreement, and it's been worrying me. That's not just me.
You know what it is too.
My entire life as a sports fan has been disagreeing with
happening?
Stephen A. Smith and turning off the channel when he's been on. And
Right.
of late, he's made sense, and I'm hating it.
Right. I'm like, I need an adultier adult. I am uncomfortable. What is happening?
Oh, it's crazy.
But he came out and he had said that during the Peach Bowl, Texas did not have an answer for Lou Scadaboo. They just didn't. But now you're going into Ohio State, and we don't just have one offensive piece. We've got 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not, this isn't going to be me like getting on the, because this is going to be a fight. Like, I really think, and we can get into this in a minute, when we do our predictions and the keys to victory for them. But I mean, it's going to be a fight. If the team that shows up the last 2 games out of Columbus shows up in Dallas, I think Texas is going to have a really long day. However, that does not mean that neither the team or the fan base, we can't sit here and be like, and we'll go to the national championship. You got to take the team in front of you and just go one game at a time. I mean, they're going to fight for it. But I think that we have more weapons on offense. I mean, they've got a couple.
Yeah. So Mr. Scadaboo, if you're listening, if you're watching the pod, thank you. Like and subscribe, please. As you will be going to the NFL next year, so great to have that clout on our pod as a follower. Unfortunately, you wouldn't start for Ohio State. You would be the third string running back, and that is not a diss on him. That's just a credit to the talent at Ohio State. And as I was watching that game and watching that kid take over, and all the credit in the world to him, I'm just like, good luck. Travion Henderson is playing as well as anybody in the country. Jeremiah Smith is playing as well as anybody in the country. Will Howard is playing like the best quarterback in the country. And then you got first round pick Emeka Ibuka, who is he has been kind of the silent partner in all this, who just goes and scores touchdowns.
He does.
And you got Quinton Dunkins, who will be an NFL starting running back here probably next year.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, the offensive line finally figuring it out. And kudos to Chip Kelly and Ryan Day for getting that figured out after two devastating injuries on that line that were obvious in the Michigan game.
Yeah.
But the thing that Texas needs to worry about is not only does Ohio State have the most explosive, best offense in the country, they have the best defense in the nation, hands down. Statistically, it shows it. But on the eye test, Dylan Gabriel was sacked 8 times. Do you know how many times he got sacked in the season?
I want to say it was like 4?
13. He had 13 total
okay.
sacks over 12 games, or 13 games. So a sack a game. Do you know how many times he got sacked against Ohio State in the first matchup?
I don't think we got. Did we get to him once?
Not once. No. There was one sack, and it was a trip up of Will Howard by Oregon. He got sacked 8 times. Like, he was under constant duress. Now, on the flip side, Texas has a much better offensive line. They have probably the strongest offensive line in the nation. They got one kid that's going to be a top 10 pick. Might be a Cleveland Brown next year. And they also have another. Both their tackles are fantastic. They are going to be harder to get pressure on, but Jim Knowles is just doing some voodoo with his secondary, which getting pressure with his front four is helping him. Mm-hmm. But a guy that I want to kind of point out as we look at that I think is going to be a deciding factor in this game is a guy who I think is unheralded as one of the best linebackers in the nation. Cody Simon has been just incredible in these last 2 games. He's been incredible all season long. Like, there was quite a few years ago, I was watching an underused receiver at Ohio State, and I can remember looking over at my wife in the stands, and I go, that guy is going to dominate in the NFL. And he wasn't getting a lot because he just didn't have great quarterback play. It was Michael Thomas. And I get the same vibes with Cody Simon. And I was saying at the end of last year, I'm like, that kid is going to be, has BB will put it, a problem. And you hear it here. He is going to continue the long line of great linebackers from Ohio State in the NFL. But just watch Cody Simon. He will make 2 or 3 major plays. He does it every game, and once again, it just goes under the radar. We hear, and rightly so, we hear about the front 7. Williams, Tuamalo, Jack Sawyer, like those guys are getting after it. They're playing great. We hear about Caleb Downs, who might be the best player in college football with Jeremiah Smith. Like these 2 kids are the best players in college football. And rightfully so. Him and Lathan Ransom have been just locked down at safety. Lathan Ransom's going to be playing on Sundays next year. But Cody Simon, just, I'm telling everybody, if that kid has a big game, Ohio State's going to the Natty. Without a doubt.
I mean, that defense, again, and you've mentioned all of them. You've got Sawyer, you've got Tui Malau, you have, Cody Simon, Caleb Downs.
Tyleek Williams was living in the backfield. He was unblockable in that game. The reason Dylan Gabriel was so just getting flushed to the defensive ends is because Tyleek Williams was collapsing that pocket over and over.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a first round pick in May.
He is,
or in April.
And we can talk about that a little bit later, actually. But and just one more thing is, especially on defense, who I'm really just super happy to see, that the way they've progressed through the season, is Davidson Igbinosun.
Yeah.
Yeah. beginning of the season was kind of a penalty magnet, kind of just everywhere where he did not need to be. I don't know if Jim Knowles took him aside or if the veteran guys kind of said something to him or not, or he just naturally matured as a player. But he learned what good touch and bad touch the difference is.
And yeah, and
And
building off
against
that.
Oregon, he made some noise. He was a problem in the best way possible. So I'm really really glad, and I believe he's also a freshman.
I think maybe he's a redshirt freshman. I didn't he transfer? Wasn't he a portal kid? I believe, but he'll be
Um,
back. I'm pretty sure he's back. Oh, you know what? No, he's draft eligible, so he's not a freshman. I know that
he's
because I've
not.
done so
Oh,
many. Yeah, I've done so many Browns mock drafts that I know he's eligible right now. So yeah, we'll have to look into that, see where he is.
yeah. We'll dig into that a little bit
But
more.
building on that, yes, people of the interwebs, we don't know everything. So, but digging
Not
into
even
that a
close.
little bit, another person I want to talk about who got absolutely slammed is Denzel Burke. And
Yeah.
you know a cornerback is good if you don't hear their name. You
Yep.
know a cornerback is bad if you hear their name all the time.
Yep.
And coming out of that Oregon game, Denzel Burke, I mean, there were people who wanted to bench him. I mean, he was flirting with a first round draft grade last year had he come out. And
Hmm.
he came back this year, like a lot of the seniors did for the same reasons, win the Big
Unfinished
Ten, beat
business.
Michigan, and then win an Natty. And he's been a lockdown cornerback for the last 6-7 weeks, and I've been paying a particular attention. Has somebody played in the defensive backfield when I played football? I try to pay attention to that. And
Hmm.
he is you've not heard his name, you've not heard Igmanosa's name. Why? Because these guys have been locked down, and that's another reason why the front seven, I'm sorry, the front four have been able to they've had a little extra time because there's nobody running free. Like it was after
Yep.
there were major adjustments made after that Oregon game, where the secondary was embarrassed. Um, you know,
Yeah.
those guys, Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, were just running all over the place free. Yeah, they've been fantastic. The entire defense. This is one of if they go on to win the national title, we're gonna look back. Not only this being one of the most talented Ohio State teams, but this might be the best defense Ohio State's ever had. And I say that we know the history of Ohio State and the Silver Bullets, but I think we can make that argument that this may be the best defense they've ever put on a field. They are just getting after it right now. They really are.
So with that being said, prediction time.
So after being so surprised with what happened last week on your birthday, by the way, happy belated birthday, BB.
Yeah.
I really thought that was going to be a close game, and I would like to think just because I know up front Texas is going to be the best team since Michigan that Ohio State's faced on the offensive and defensive lines. And I'm old school. I believe games are won or lost in the trenches. You control the line of scrimmage. You can move the line of scrimmage. You're going to win games. I don't think Texas is as good or talented as Ohio State. I think once again, I watch a lot of SEC football. I watched Texas 4 or 5 times. I saw the Vanderbilt game. I saw both Georgia games. I saw the Michigan game. I truly think Ohio State's the most talented team. I think Ohio State's the better team. And as long as I'm going to go back to something Will Howard said, and a lot of people got upset for it before the Oregon game. He said, "We have not lost to another team. We've only beaten ourselves." And people gave him a lot of flack. He obviously came and backed it up against Oregon. But I also believe him. I also believe
Absolutely.
I also believe Ohio State's been their own worst enemy. So if they can play clean football, they're going to win. They're going to win going away with this game. If they make mistakes and allow Texas to be in it, then we might be in for some anxiety ridden semifinal game. But I would like to think that Ohio State is going to stay clean. I know the spread is I think 6.5. Last I saw was 6.5. So Ohio State's given a touchdown. I like Ohio State to cover. I'm going to say Ohio State They're gonna score a lot of points again. So we're gonna say I like Ohio State. I'm gonna go with last week's number. I was pretty close, 38. Texas 24.
Ooh, okay.
And I think Texas,
Okay.
like Oregon, scores a couple late touchdowns to at least keep it interesting until the fourth quarter.
Okay.
What about you? What do you think?
You know what? As long as we come out and we execute, kind of I've got the line from Remember the Titans playing in my mind right now, we will be perfect in every aspect of the game. You block a pass, drop a pass, you run a mile. Like the whole thing. Um, but I think, you know what? I think we are going to come out firing on all cylinders. I think they're going to continue to come out playing mean, that chip on your shoulder, something to prove. Like that is where they've been their strongest, and they do still have something to prove. Um, but they're also going to play smart. And as long as if our defense can actually neutralize their two offensive weapons, Quintravion Wisner, who was an absolute beast during the Peach Bowl, and Matthew Golden, I think we will be in good shape. I think if Will Howard comes out, has another day, Jeremiah Smith has a day, Emeka has a day, we are going to be looking at a really, really good game. And it's going to be a very long evening for both Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, not to mention Longhorn Nation. Score wise, I like where we're at with the 38. I do. I'm gonna say 38-17, truthfully. It's gonna be a late push. I think they may have to depend, excuse me, on their field goal unit. It's gonna be a lot of, not going for it on fourth down, perhaps. But that's just me. But I do think that Ohio State is gonna be victorious just because of how solidly as a unit they are playing together.
So before we both have Ohio State winning this and going to the national title game, and before we leave Ohio State and move on to the sadder second half of our pod today, the Cleveland Browns,
Wah,
I
wah.
have a huge question for you.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, the over under is 8.
Okay.
Actually, let's go 8.5. Okay, so we can't tie. Okay, I'm a bookie laying odds here. 8.5. Over under. How many times do we see Matthew McConaughey on television?
Oh, I have a follow-up question for you. I think I am going to I'm going to take the over on it because, it is in Dallas, Texas. It is in, Cowboy Stadium, entering Jerry World.
Leather jacket, cowboy hat
I think
on,
we're gonna see, yeah, we're gonna see
a
the
glass of
leather
long
jacket. We're gonna see
glass of wild turkey rare breed right on the
right,
sideline. Getting his
the hook 'em horns, the whole thing. I will take the over on that, truthfully, because I think we will see Matthew McConaughey only slightly less than we would see Taylor Swift potentially in the Kansas City Chiefs playoff game.
So funny you said that. And nobody's done this study. Okay. Last year in the playoffs. Okay, so Kansas City first round bye, so they played 2 games, go to the Super Bowl. So that's three games in the playoffs last year.
Right.
Taylor Swift was on television a total of 38 seconds
Right.
in 3 games. So this
Right.
big to do, why is Taylor on my TV? I can't take it. The woke media is trying to get me to buy an Eras tour for my daughter, whatever the stupid stuff that was being said.
Dude, she's supporting her boyfriend. Like, leave her alone. And she's also not saying, to the camera guys,
Look at me. She's trying to hide.
focus on me.
She's literally trying to hide.
She's trying to hide. She's having a beer with what potentially could be her soon-to-be in-laws. Who knows? Travis just put a ring on it, dude.
Yeah.
Good Cleveland boy. We know.
Bring
But
her to
she's
Seatown.
out there. She's supporting her dude.
Bring her to Seatown, and let's open up that dome in Brook Park with a Taylor concert. Let's do it. He'll be retired by them, and the whole Kelsey family could be on stage. He might not play for the Browns, but he'll get his Cleveland love. But okay, the big complaints about Taylor, and it's going to happen again. We see McConaughey more than we see the head coach of Texas in any Texas
We
game.
do.
We do. And I don't
So
understand why there's not an outrage about Matthew McConaughey on the sidelines like there is Taylor. Oh, hold on. I know why there is. We're not going to get into that because this is not a political pod. But
I have a follow-up question.
I agree with you over at 8.5. And I'm counting.
So, I'm going to hold you to that.
Oh yeah, I'll give you the number. I'll give you the number after the game.
Okay. So my follow-up question, and this has kind of been a point of contention for Texas and Texas fans throughout the whole playoff process. Will Jerry let the Texas mascot Bevo in Cowboy Stadium? Are they going to let him run on the field like they do? Because this is technically a home game for Texas. Is Jerry going to let the big old Longhorn run on his field?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yep, without a doubt. Jerry's a Texas guy. Like Texas through and through. Nothing says Texas cattle and steers. He will allow that to happen. And with that, shall we go to the Browns?
Do we have to?
So unfortunately, BB, we have to. It is the I-71 pod, and we talked about one side of I-71, our favorite side right now, Columbus. Let's move up to the North Shore here and talk about the Browns. And last week, if you remember, I proposed a question to you I wanted you to think about. Now that this season's over, 3-14 has happened. The Browns are guaranteed the top 3 pick. And, right now I'm looking here. If New England doesn't blow this, possibly a top 2 pick. The day is the 5th of January, 2025. So on the 5th of January, 2026, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I just want to get what you think about them. Okay?
Ooh.
Will the Browns, this time next year, be competing for a playoff spot?
I would like to think so. However, the realist in me is there is a lot of work that needs to happen before now and then.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off there. So that leads me to 2 more topics. I think it's wholly dependent on what they do this offseason, obviously. So what's going to happen with Myles Garrett? I'm throwing haymakers. I'm coming with the big stuff right now.
You are, dude. You're hitting me with like the hard hitting. I feel like I'm on, with Geraldo or something.
Can we go 80s Geraldo? Like I like the 80s Geraldo when he was trying to open up Al Capone's vault.
Yes.
Hey kids.
Yes, that's actually what I'm feeling like. Is you're throwing these line drives at my head, and I am literally Al Capone's vault right now because.
Nothing in there.
No, it's a simple banging monkey. 9 times out of 10, that's what it is going on all up in here. What happens with Myles? Again, the realist in me. Do they take him seriously? I mean, his post-game conference comments yesterday make me a little nervous. And he made a comment to our lovely owner D, her bestie, Mary Kay.
We're looking at you, MK.
In regards to his extension, he says there will be something coming. Yeah. So will it be good? Will it be bad? We're not entirely sure. But the fact that he has been the anchor of our defense since we drafted him, literally in 2017, he's absolutely on and off the field, with the exception of that one game, against Pittsburgh, on and off the field, just a really great guy. And the fact for him to come out and say that the 2024-2025 Brown season is probably more disappointing than 2017 when we drafted him, which was the year that we went 0-16, I think that speaks volumes.
And I think we all agree with him, too. I don't think Myles is saying anything we don't agree with.
No, he's not saying anything that's out of pocket or out of left field. He's absolutely correct, and he has the full support of the fans behind him. He absolutely does. The problem is the powers that be, are they going to take that as seriously as it needs to be. I mean, it's not oh, he's disgruntled and he's not happy. No, he has literally busted his behind for this city and has absolutely nothing to show for it. I mean, yeah, he's won Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. You know, he's the league leader in sacks.
You got it once. Got it once. That's all right.
Okay, he got it once.
We can make an argument he should have had it multiple times.
Okay. I appreciate the correction. Trust me. Keep me honest. Keep me in line here.
I think we can agree he is the best defensive player in the NFL. And I don't think there's many people, unless you say yins instead of you guys or y'all. I think most of America would agree with that statement. You know, we'll get back here to Miles in a second, but I was actually kind of reassured that he said you'll see something. I think he's going to sign an extension. I don't think he says that if he's planning on leaving. I don't think that's Miles only speaks when he wants people to know things. This is not, he's not a blowhard or anything. He just, when he has a message, he feels he has to say something, he will. And that's what led to this whole, I would like to know what the plan is. And, Joel Bitonio echoed those same thoughts. And there's nothing wrong with one of your team leaders come out and say, hey, where we're going, and I would hope, and we're gonna get to this here in a second with a new segment that I'm bringing to the pod. I would hope that our Harvard educated GM, our Ivy League front office head coach, I would hope that they have planned for contingencies. And and also I would hope that Andrew Berry, knowing who his owner is, has planned for contingencies. And that's going to get us into my segment here in a second. But before we get there, BB, who at the beginning of January next year will be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? Who will be number 41 or 42 or 43? Who knows?
Well, I mean, I can tell you who it's not going to be. I mean, unfortunately, it's not going to be the Cleveland media darling that has emerged in Jameis Winston.
Nope.
Which that hurts again because he's grown on me as an adult and as a person. But
he won me when he won me when he took his boys to Swenson's. That was the cutest thing. That was so cute.
That was the most adorable thing ever. And truthfully, I wish nothing but good things for both him and his family, professionally, personally, all of it. I don't think he's going to be the guy. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will not be the guy. We absolutely failed this kid. And I can confidently say that there is no ifs, ands, or buts. The organization as a whole failed Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They drafted him. The quarterback room that you went into was chaos, and it has been chaos for the 2 years that he has been here. There has been absolutely no one to mentor him, with the exception of a brief period against, Flacco and Winston, can kind of give him some mentorship and point him in the right direction, because I can guarantee that it will not be coming from Deshaun Cosby. I'm sorry. And the things that you will, I know you hate when I call him that, whatever.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
I know. But those are not the mentor things that you want to take. It's not going to be Bailey Zappi, the 40th quarterback of the Cleveland Browns since they came back as an expansion team in 1999. It will not be any of them. So who is it going to be?
By the way, I didn't want to talk about yesterday's game, but Bailey Zappi, the pick six he threw at that point was one of the worst passes I've ever seen an NFL quarterback throw. It was 5 yards underthrown to an out route. The guy, I don't even know who from Baltimore caught it and ran it in. I wasn't really paying attention. But when he caught it, he was surprised. He was like, it's not supposed to be this easy. He runs it in. And then...
Really, it's not.
And then, when I didn't think it could get any worse, Bailey Zappi throws an interception to a 400-pound defensive lineman in coverage. I was like, this is why this is the worst season ever.
Even the dude who caught it was like...
he had no idea. He was so surprised he went down on a knee. He was so surprised. Right, he was like, I'm, I'm not even going to attempt to run. I got my I got my interception. I'm not going to fumble this. I'm not going to get tackled. I'm not going to get on a blooper reel. I am taking this ball. This is getting put in a case. This is the highlight of my career. And
I mean,
I have tears in my eyes because I'm laughing so hard at it.
I know.
I mean, if you can't cry about the Browns, you just gotta laugh.
Well, laugh, cry, or drink. One of the three things happens, and some of you do it simultaneously, depending on the game.
Oh my god! So who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback for the Browns next year?
Let's get back on the track.
Yeah, we know who it is. It's not Bailey Zappi.
So let's. I mean, I know I've heard a lot of talk that has been swirling around as of late, linking Kirk Cousins to the Cleveland Browns. That's definitely a choice. Truthfully, I don't know.
I don't ever
draft a rookie quarterback. First of all, and we can get into that and do another pod.
We're gonna talk draft. I'm still looking here. It is currently 20-16. And New England's getting the ball back with 3 minutes. Or no, they're punting. I'm sorry, they're punting. So Buffalo's getting the ball back. But anyway, right now we're currently sitting in the. Oh no, Buffalo's punting, so we're getting the ball back. I'm saying where? I just said we because I'm rooting for New England so hard because I want the 2 pick. Oh God, I hate being a Browns fan. Okay, so I'm
tired of this, Grandpa.
I can't do this anymore. I'm heading toward 50. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm getting too old for this crap. Literally, I'm getting too old for this. So anyway,
we all are. Honey, none of us have another rebuild in us. None of us do.
I don't think they're a rebuild, but I do believe that Kirk Cousins will be a quarterback for the Browns next year. I think he will be the day one starter next year. I'm hoping, I'm not a big Kirk Cousins guy. But when you've had the absolute bottom of humanity and Deshaun Watson, like it's only up from there. So bring me Kirk Cousins, I guess.
Sure.
But I think he's a good marriage with Kevin Stefanski, and that's going to kind of lead me into my segment here. Should we just get into it?
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let's go after it.
It means business.
Ooh. Oh, the glasses are coming out. Uh-oh.
Okay.
I feel like I'm getting ready to be hit for a test that I did not study for.
I do want to talk about next week. I just want to preview next week before I go into this. This segment that I'm going to call, Hey, Jimmy, can you hear me? That is
Jimmy, can you hear me?
You knew where I was going with it. We're such a good team. Next week, I do want to talk about the Brook Park situation. And I something's happening between this battle between the Haslams and the city. And I really am starting to hate the power structure in the city of Cleveland right now because they're making me root for billionaires, and we'll talk about that later next week because there's 2 things I hate most on earth: politicians and billionaires. And so yeah, so right now one is making me side with the other, and that's upsetting me greatly, but we'll talk about that. Maybe there'll be developments this week, but I just cannot believe what the city of Cleveland's doing, trying to invoke the Modell rule, because the new Cleveland Browns Stadium will literally be across the street from the city limits of Cleveland, because a lot of people don't know Hopkins Airport is incorporated into Cleveland. This stadium is going to literally be across the road. So that is what we're talking about, invoking the Modell rule all over, because the city of Cleveland.
We'll get into that.
The city of Cleveland is throwing the city of Cleveland is throwing a fit like a child right now when they had a decade to do something about this and they chose not to. But that's whole thing. This time, Jimmy, I'm not on your side. So, Jimmy, can you hear me? I don't like to think I have too many gifts. I don't poo-poo. I'm not a prideful guy. But I do pride myself on the gift of observation. Now, I am by trade a trained historian. I have a degree in history, and part of the history path is research and investigation. So if anybody wants to go into any kind of law-related field, history is a great way to go because you'll learn how to research and investigate, and build put puzzles together. It's what we do as historians. So I've given a lot of thought to the last 3 years, really last 5 years of the Stefanski Berry era of the Cleveland Browns, and I'll give you what I think has happened to start, and I'm going to put the clues out there for you. I think Jimmy Haslam's to blame for all this. I think Jimmy Haslam is, I don't like using the word cancer, but I think Jimmy Haslam doesn't know as much about football as he thinks, and he overrides the people he puts in charge. And now let me give you a little evidence here as I'm sitting there. Okay.
We love receipts.
Okay, and this comes on the heels of a great article I hope would encourage everybody to get on ESPN.com and read the article by Jeremy Fowler and Daniel Ufosi. I hope I got his name right. He's the new beat writer for ESPN. Took over for the great Jake Trotter, who is now doing Ohio State Buckeyes talk. Jake's awesome. If you don't get a chance to see him, he's on ESPN Cleveland every now and then. Does a great job covering the Buckeyes. Did a great job covering the Browns. They gave a really in-depth article of the dysfunction of the 2024 Browns. And I really think this is the function of the last 12 years of Haslam ownership. Jimmy Haslam has now employed 5 head coaches. He has employed 4 GMs in 12 years of ownership. And I want to make it clear that this is not usual in professional sports. Across the board. This is unusual. And when it got to Stefanski and Berry, we're looking at these hires. We're like, okay, one thing we know is these are smart guys. These are well looked upon guys in the NFL. I'm telling you right now, if Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski get fired from the Browns, they're going to have a job the next day. I agree with that sentiment. These are smart guys. These are well-respected guys in the league. So what went wrong in 2024? Y'all go ahead, please, and I'll go back to Jimmy here.
Oh no, trust me, because I've got some things to add along to this. But honestly, the shorter list and the better question is what didn't go wrong.
I agree.
I mean,
so, I'm checking my notes here. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything because I'm learning from you. Notes are good.
Show prep, baby. Let's do it.
So we're coming out of a season where the Browns are 3-14, where the Cleveland Browns had a historically bad offense. Like 2 of the worst ranked starting quarterbacks in the last 40 years of the National Football League played quarterback for the Browns. I'm sorry, DTR. I like you as a person, but buddy, you had a rough year, and we know DW4 when he was injured was historically one of the worst quarterbacks ever to play the position for this year. So, how does your coach and your GM get a vote of confidence after this? And I heard a great line. I wish I could give credit. I was listening to the radio yesterday, and the guy said, it was on ESPN, said, Stefanski's had 5 years. Why are we having this conversation? He should be gone. And that's really hard to argue. So once again, putting the pieces together, I remember 3 years ago, the Browns coming off a not this bad of a season, but a rough season where Baker played hurt. And I can remember all of us saying, why, and you and I talked about this, why are they running him out there when he is clearly not right? Why are they running out? And then finally, in week 17 of the season, he sat himself. Like he said, I'm not going out. Now, once again, Kevin Stefanski is not a dumb guy. This is a very smart offensive guy. Andrew Berry is not a dumb guy. Now, the interesting thing was, and we talked about this last week, we touched on this, Baker had his extension coming up.
Right.
Baker, we just watched Josh Allen get paid. We knew Sam Darnold wasn't going to get paid. We were waiting. Lamar was kind of holding out. We knew Lamar was going to get paid. And as we were watching, and Daniel Jones had just got paid. That didn't work out for the Giants. Daniel Jones had just got paid. So Baker was next up. Was he going to be a $40-45 million quarterback? And the Browns had to figure that out because great rookie season. 2019 not so good. 2020 he's a Pro Bowl alternate. The Browns win a playoff game for the first time in however long. 2022, okay, we get back to there. Not a good year. Not a good year. So my thought and reading kind of, after reading this article really got me thinking, did Jimmy say, I need to know if I got to pay this guy? So you got to play him. If he's healthy to play, if he's cleared, we got to play him. Because I don't think it was clear to, Joe Fan here and Joe Fan there. It was clear to us. It was clear to our friends, everybody we talked about. It was clear to everybody on Sports Talk Radio. It was clear that Baker wasn't right and he was not the best thing for winning.
Right.
So why was he getting thrown out there over and over? Case Keenum gave us a better chance to win. Baker was clearly hurt. Go get your surgery. Get better. We'll see you next year. And I think it had to do with that contract situation. And I think that was the owner coming in. And this is why I think it was the owner. Because we flash forward to today. And the Browns have, I think we've all agreed, the most disappointing season, especially with the expectations, especially where they were last year, the most disappointing season maybe in franchise history. I don't think that's overreacting. 3-14 with this roster. We know this is a talented roster. I'm not one of these guys that says, it has to be all torn down, whatever. This is a talented roster. Got hit with some injuries. The defense, had they not been on the field all the time because the offense and special teams were god-awful this year, the defense is a good defense. They played well. So why didn't Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry lose their job after the most disappointing season? Why did this fall on Ken Dorsey, Andy Dickerson, the offensive line coach, have been fired? There might be more firings tonight. I don't know. I'm surprised Bubba Ventrone still has a job, but that's for another pod. Why? Especially when we know Jimmy has a quick trigger finger. So I have a hypothesis, but I'm asking that question. Why did Kevin and Andrew Berry not get fired?
Why have they not been let go yet?
Yeah.
So,
and they're not going to be. We've made
no.
The Browns have made it clear that these guys are safe for this year. So why?
But I also said don't put too much faith into that because they also said that Baker is our guy.
Yeah. I think it's. Yeah, I get that. I truly think though, in that case when we talk about players, you have to say certain things. You don't have to say these guys are safe. You need to. Jimmy could have said, he's been asked twice now in the later half of the season by two very, very, Aditi Kinkabala and Mary Kay Cabot. Both reiterated we have the right guys. It's just been a weird season. We had to figure out what's going on. We have the right guys in place. So yeah, I want to hear why you think, and then I'm going to give you my Jimmy explanation here.
So when they brought in Dorsey, now mind you, Buffalo fired Ken Dorsey in November of 2023.
Yep.
Unceremoniously, just pack your stuff, get out. February, not even a full 90 days, he's employed by Berea. So then they bring in all of these new pieces to build the offense, completely rebuild the offense around a quarterback that did not work in our system, who did not want to work in our system.
And by the way, a system that has worked really well. Kevin Stefanski's offense has been very productive since this guy has been an offensive coordinator. He always has a top 10 offense.
He does.
No matter what we think about his play calling.
Coach of the year since he's been with the Browns.
This guy he is a successful offensive coach. Okay.
Does he overthink things when he is play calling? Absolutely. But then again, who doesn't overthink things? But I also read that ESPN article, and it was a fantastic. It's a long read, but
It's
it's really really
if
solid.
you're a Browns fan, it's a must read.
There is a quote from Jimmy Haslam that absolutely made me see red. The quote is, and this is word for word out of his own mouth. I mean, I think we have a lot of needs as a team. We have to prioritize those. We went from 11-6 and making the playoffs to, at the time that this was written, 3-10. Now 3-14. So it's a little perplexing as exactly what happened. Are you absolutely flipping kidding me? And for me to say to end censor myself right now,
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of
thank
you.
you. Are you what? You're a little perplexed to what happened. Let me tell you what happened, Jimmy. Alex Van Pelt, gone. Callahan, gone. You are completely forcing a new offensive team or scheme, excuse me. So flippered and frustrated over here. You're shoving that down people's throats and it doesn't work. Plus, you have a $250,000 problem that nobody wanted but you. And you're perplexed as to why nothing is working right.
So it's kind of I want to tell everybody once again, like and subscribe to the I-71 Playbook Pod. We did not discuss this. I just told BB I was going to talk to Jimmy here. And we both read that article. We were both appalled by the behavior of Jimmy Haslam as owner of our beloved Browns. And this is what takes me back to why Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski still have a job. 3 years ago, they were in the market for a quarterback. They made it clear that Baker Mayfield was not coming back, that he was going to be traded. And Baker then asked for a trade, rightfully so. I don't have a problem with how Baker handled the end of his exit, and because we could get back into that. But anyway, the Browns put it out there. Hey, we're interested. They made an offer to Deshaun Watson. Immediately, Watson's camp puts it out there that the Browns are not in consideration.
Correct.
You guys remember that? They're not consideration. 4 hours later, 5 hours later, I was contemplating selling my season tickets because Deshaun Watson had accepted a guaranteed $240 million contract from the Cleveland Browns. Now, that does not happen. First of all, that's a historic, in football, a historic contract. And once again, nobody's replicated it because it was such a bad idea.
But it has changed the landscape now going forward
Yes.
for quarterback.
But nobody's getting 5 years guaranteed. Because what happened for the Browns...
guaranteed, but there are large chunks of those contracts now.
Yeah. So what that meant was, one thing I think we can all agree with, and this is a trait of a very rich and powerful man that's never had to say no or never had anybody tell them no. I think Jimmy saw the reports and said, do what it takes.
I want him. I want him.
I want him. He's not going to turn me down. So the Browns make an offer that Deshaun Watson and his camp couldn't refuse. And here we are 3 years later. If that is a scenario that happened, Andrew Berry may have brought this idea. It's been reported this was Berry's idea. He might have brought this idea. And once again, a responsible GM should bring, things are going south with the quarterback. You got to come up with an alternative plan. Deshaun Watson might have been one of those alternative plans. He may have brought this to Jimmy Haslam and said, hey, look, if we make this offer, do you want us to make this offer? He said, go make it, because you don't make a quarterback offer without the owner.
Well, yeah.
And so, Andrew Berry might be culpable to a point, but this does not happen without Jimmy Haslam and his ego. So Jimmy signs off on it. Now, let's flash forward today, January 5th. It has been considered by most maybe the worst trade in sports history. Hard to argue that. Hard to argue that. And Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry still have their jobs. Because, and I want everybody to hear this, this whole entire mess is Jimmy Haslam. It has his meddling, it has his handprint, it has the feel of a person who doesn't know what they're doing making decisions. And that is why,
because I got something for you.
And let's go back to that article that you so well quoted there a little bit ago. And once again, must read for Browns fans. One thing the article also made clear was the decision to let go of the offensive staff last year was not Kevin Stefanski's.
Nope.
He was given a directive to make a more suitable offense for Deshaun Watson. And once again, that screams to me, billionaire. I made an investment of $250 million in this guy. You're going to make it work. Okay? Mm-hmm. Your offensive system doesn't work for him. We need to spread it out. We need to get him in shotgun. We need to do all that. Let's get some guy in here who runs a shotgun and spread offense. Oh, let's get Ken Dorsey, who, as you mentioned, had just been fired by a Bills team that is, once again, we will agree, one of the best teams in the league, who was struggling offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Struggling offensively. They get rid of him. I think they were out 5 wins going to the playoffs.
Yep.
This is not an attack on Ken Dorsey. This is not an attack on Kevin Stefanski, whose hand was forced. This is Jimmy. This is on you. You wanted that investment to work out so bad. You tanked this season, Jimmy. You are the reason why we're 3-14. There's nobody else to blame. And until Jimmy Haslam looks in the mirror, until he takes a moment of reflection and lets the people he pays millions of dollars do their job, let Kevin Stefanski have a quarterback he wants. Let Andrew Berry make the number 2 pick that we know the Browns have. Stay out. Go down to Knoxville. Go down to Nashville. Go on your yacht somewhere. Stay out of the draft room, Jimmy. Let your hired professionals cook. Let them have a team. Then we'll know. Then you'll know. Okay? That you're not a GM. I know you want to be Jerry Jones. You want to build Jimmy's world, just like Jerry's world.
He is. He is the Jerry Jones of the North. He really is.
Except for, you know what? Jerry Jones gets playoff teams. Jerry Jones could get a quarterback. We can talk about the faults of the Dallas Cowboys, but Jimmy, that's not the guy to be.
No.
Look. I want you to take a look at the Rooneys. God, I hate saying that. You know what? Pittsburgh and Baltimore, you know why they're at the top of the North every year? Because they hire good people and they let good people make decisions. They don't meddle. And until Jimmy gets his nose out of this, gets his hands out of football operations, we are going to be a team that occasionally makes the playoffs and a team that is occasionally drafting number 2. Jimmy, I hope you're listening. I know you're not. If you are, like, subscribe to the pod, please. Please stay out of this. I am a Browns fan of 47 years. Do you know what this season did for me? I got rid of my season tickets because of you, Jimmy. Something I worked really hard for. Something I was proud. I was proud to be a Browns season ticket holder. And I canceled my tickets. And the only person to blame is you. You will not get my money again until you change. Phoebe.
I mean, how do I follow that up, sir? Oh, glasses are up. Okay.
I don't mean business anymore. We're good.
No, you are absolutely not wrong. This lives, breathes, and dies with Jimmy. Because he's constantly meddling. He is pulling the Jerry Jones where he's got to constantly have his hands on it. I made a statement to my partner when I noticed, or when it was announced, that Stefanski was no longer play calling. He turned over the play calling duties to Ken Dorsey. And I made a comment to my partner in our living room. And I said, he is not going to have a job by the end of the year. Nope. And he goes, well, no. Maybe he turns it around. Because, Stefanski tends to overthink when he is in big games. Okay, that's fair. However, he's going to be used as a scapegoat. And he is. He absolutely is.
And by the way, agree or disagree, I think Kevin Stefanski got a little petty in him. I think this situation was forced on him. And when it didn't work, he said, okay, here's your guy. Go get him, Ken.
You want to talk about petty. He is not the only one. Now, mind you, I am petty to my core.
And by the way, I'm not going after him for being petty. Like, no. I agree with him. Like, I agree with the pettiness.
There's times in life that you need to be a little bit petty. Yeah. And again, I am Sicilian and I am Irish and I am petty down to everything that I've got. And I can tell you, he's not the only one in Berea that is petty. And I can explain that with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt butted heads with the front office shortly after he got here. They refused to re-sign him. He didn't get signed anywhere. Chubb goes down. So you need someone to plug back into this offense. Who better to do it than to Kareem Hunt? What did he do? Go out there, bust ass for us, made noise, did what he had to do. When it came time to sign an extension or to re-sign him,
he played
absolutely not let him go.
He played well last year.
He did. He played very well last year.
You knew you didn't have Nick Chubb for a half a year. You knew Jerome Ford. I don't care about Jerome Ford's not a. He's not a workhorse back.
No.
He's going to he's going to bust a big play every now and then, and there is a need for him in this offense. But he's not a number one back, and you know this. And you knew you're going to go back by committee. Why not bring Kareem Hunt back? And all he did was go in the same position in Kansas City and have a heck of a year.
Yeah. So now he is getting ready to go on to the playoffs, potentially go for another ring. And the thing that really makes me, respect him and root consistently for him is what he said to Andy Reid when he touched back down at Arrowhead Field. Goes into Andy Reid's office and says, "You are not going to regret this. Thank you for the second chance." So the Browns front office is full of petty.
Yeah.
But my question though is just how tone deaf is Jimmy going to be? Because we're going to get into this later. But his mentality is literally Brooke Parker bust. The problem with that, though, is, Cleveland movie, cinema, to put it in draft day terms. Jimmy thinks that he is the Browns owner in that, and he needs to do exactly what you said. Let Mr. Sonny Weaver Jr. cook. Let him do his thing. Don't worry if you're on the big phone. Go watch Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It'll be fine. Go sit down. Take your tablet. Take your crayons. Go sit in the corner. Sit down.
Jimmy.
Let the adults talk.
Jimmy, there's great coverage on the NFL Network and ESPN of the draft. Go home. Have a party. Invite your friends. Just leave Berea. Just go up to Whitehall, enjoy it in your $1 million mansion, or even where's the draft this year? Where's the draft this year?
Green Bay.
Hey, thank you. Go up to Green Bay.
Have some cheese. It'll be great.
Have a good time. Learn about that fan base. Do something different. Do not be in the war room in Berea, please.
No, absolutely not.
Do not have a phone. Do not call.
Yeah, no. Just timeout. You are literally in timeout. What he has done consistently in the 12 years of ownership that he has made us suffer through, and he has been doing it higher and higher and higher every year, and that is pissing off one of the most loyal fan bases, if not the most loyal in the league.
Yeah,
You have team. This is literally a fan base that sat by for 4 years with no home team. This is a city that lives and breathes and dies with professional football, and especially Cleveland Browns football. Because it's not for the records. It's not for the glory. It's not for the Super Bowl championships. It's because we are a blue-collar Midwestern town that lives, breathes, and dies with the Cleveland Browns football organization. And you are consistently and increasingly pissing off that fan base. Because you're not the only one who canceled tickets this year. You're not. I have friends of mine that have been season ticket holders since before they came back in '99. They had season tickets with my dad when I was a kid in the '80s. And all they did was pause it while the Browns were no longer in Cleveland.
Yep.
They have been at every home game.
I was out with friends last night who were season ticket holders since 2015, and they canceled theirs this year.
It takes a lot to make and alienate that kind of a fan base that are loyal. And loyalty isn't something that comes easy, especially in professional sports. Especially when you've got bandwagon, especially when you've got, what have you done late for me lately? No. Loyalty in a fan base, which is actually going to pay for your $2 billion playground, Jimmy, which, again, that's something totally different.
Yeah, we're gonna get into Brook Park here, probably starting next week in the off season here.
But in order to make any of that work, any of it, if you want a shred of a chance to actually make that work, so you get new PSLs, you cannot have a terrible product on the field.
Yeah, and
it is getting worse.
And I want the people out there who are watching this to know how drastic a price increase you're about to incur for this new stadium. And I promise you the Browns are going to raise your ticket prices again next year. They've raised them the last 4 years straight. They don't even tell you. It just, you have to see it in your payment plan. They don't say, hey, we're kicking it up here, but a PSL, I want you guys to know, for SoFi and for Minnesota and for Vegas, the average PSL price is like $6,500 a seat. That's just to have the right to then pay for the seats. And then you are probably looking at least 2 to 3 times the price you're paying per seat at Huntington Bank right now, at Cleveland Browns Stadium right now. This is, you're going to be the one paying for the dome. And,
absolutely.
And right now, if you don't like this product, and this is where I came to, and it was not easy. Being a Brown season ticket holder was a dream of mine. You know that. You remember the day you were one of the people that I talked to first after I signed up. I was so excited.
You were like a proud parent.
I was.
You were literally showing off your newborn.
I was, and I went to one game this year. I got rid of the rest of my tickets. I went to that opener against Dallas, and it just didn't get better. I went out to Vegas, and after that point, I was like, I'm not wasting a Sunday on this anymore, because it's a whole day. And getting to the stadium right now is a pain in the butt, and there is nothing worse. I was just driving down 71 today, and there is nothing worse than that drive down 9th Street to 71, down toward rural Ohio where I live, after a Browns loss. There's just nothing more depressing. You walk out of that stadium, and by the way, once again, if you've been to Cleveland Browns Stadium, it's a walk. Even to the Muni, it's a walk. To where we park,
It is.
Where we park it's a mile walk, and you have to digest that, and you're in a crowd of 30, 40,000 people. And then you get in your car, and you have to wait in traffic, and you finally get to 71, and you can't even turn on the post game because It just depresses you. So I hit a point. I was done. I am done. And I truly hope that's the only way. By the way, that's the only way that the Browns are going to hear this. That the Browns are going to feel this, is if they don't think they can sell out that new dome.
Nope.
It doesn't matter how many corporate partners they have. They need to sell seats in that dome. And I'm telling you right now, your wallet is your greatest weapon if you are upset with the state of the Browns.
Hit him where it hurts.
And that's what I got for this week,
In the
BB.
pocketbook. Huh?
That's all I got for this week.
That's all you got for this week. I think we're after this week. Emotions ran a little bit high. I think I'm gonna go make some Chinese food and get ready for the Lions to hopefully
Big game tonight.
big old game.
Lions
tonight,
Vikings
so.
in the NFC North. What we were hoping the Browns would have yesterday. I'm going to get off the pod. I got to run some errands, and then the Mount Union Purple Raiders play tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN for the D3 national title against North Central. North Central is a juggernaut right now, so it is going to be a tough matchup for the Purple Raiders. But hopefully they bring home number 14. Number 14. That's what we're looking for. National championship number 14, and that's got the Bucks on Friday. Fun week of football still coming up, even without the Browns. And we will be back together, next Sunday?
Yes, next Sunday. We will talk the outcome of the Cotton Bowl.
Go
hopefully
Bucks.
Victorious. What is next for the Browns? Kind of do a little bit of a little draft.
Yeah,
maybe a wish list.
Yeah, we'll start talking. We'll start talking how to fix the Browns. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Like, our opinions and our thoughts are no worse than what has been the Browns for the last 25 years. So why not? Maybe we can help them out. Maybe we can be a pal. We'll help out the Browns. Andrew, I hope you're watching. Andrew, we want you to do well, buddy. Trust me.
We do.
We're not upset with you right now. We are upset at your boss, though.
Andrew, Kevin, come a little closer. We are not mad. We're just disappointed. So, with that all being said, from the dog pound to the shoe and everything in between, I am your loudmouth opinionated host, BB.
And I am BC.
And this has been the I-71 Playbook Podcast.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.